It's a wonderful opportunity to be here and to see Dan and to ask Dan some questions. So, first of all, Dan, what gave you and Alex, who you co-founded Centre for Inclusive Policy with, what gave you the idea of starting it?
Well, I had been working at the World Bank, and this was just a few years after the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities came into being. And it became very clear to me that the disability rights movement was a very strong movement with a great deal of capability in terms of awareness raising, fighting for their rights, raising their issues, or in the words of the musical Hamilton, getting into the room where it happens. But once they got into the room where it happens, they didn't really know exactly what to say. So say, yes, there's a big gap in employment between people with and without disabilities. Well, what's the best policy? What's the best evidence for which policy would be most effective in the most cost-efficient way? And they really had some difficulties there. And on the flip side, you had development agencies with a wealth of experience on policy analysis and data and all this, but they knew very little about disability and inclusion. So we really felt there was a place for an organization in the middle there that could try to help connect those two groups, give the methodologies, the frameworks, some of the capacity building with the disability community to help them be more evidence-based in their advocacy, and at the same time provide some of those tools and some to the development community to better understand disability and inclusion. And of course, we couldn't do everything, so we tried to pick the few areas where we felt there was we could really catalyze some action.
So, how did you do that? I mean, you say that you couldn't do everything. There's such need. There's so many problems for disabled people in the world. How did you pick what you would contribute to?
Well, I think we picked what we contribute to the areas we knew the best. And one thing which was really apparent at the time was that there was resistance in the disability community to talking about social protection because they saw it from a very charity model perspective. Oh, we want employment, we want education. We're not here looking for disability cash handouts so we don't starve in the dark. And we said, well, no, social protection can be conceived of in a different way as a pro-participation, right? How can we have social protection policies that actually promote participation? And well, if we're going to do that, what do we need to know? What do we need? What kind of information do we have? And that's why we really honed in on this idea of extra costs, disability extra costs. Because people with disabilities face these extra costs in order to conduct their lives. But how do you measure them? How do you conceptualize them? How do you then incorporate them into social protection programs so that they can be pro-participation? And then other issues followed from that. And that's where we started. And that, of course, led us into thinking about independent living and community supports. And now recently the care agenda and trying to get a disability lens on that. And so sort of seeing what OPDs and what international agencies were working on and trying to figure out, well, where can we come in and sort of move that along?
So you started this new center. What were the greatest challenges? I mean, you can't just start an international center and find it easy, can you?
No, no. I mean, the first couple of years were pretty tough. We didn't want to be a consultancy firm, right?
Right.
So we, of course, at the beginning, we really did go after RFPs only in the areas
So
that
what's RFP? Say that again.
a request for proposal.
Right.
So a UN agency, for example, might say, oh, we want to study on this, and they look for a consultant to do it. And so, of course, we would try to go for those contracts, but only not any contract, the contracts in the areas where we wanted to grow. But in order to have that independence to really create our own agenda, we needed funding, and it was a development grant from OSF that really enabled us to transition from being a quasi-consulting firm to becoming our own organization with our own agenda and being able to try to proactively do things that we thought would be helpful moving forward.
So what lessons have stayed with you from, as it were, the early days?
Well, I think it really was trying to best ascertain what were the blocks from a methodological research point of view, right? Or what were the pieces of information, what were the methodologies that would help move along the agenda of the OPDs themselves, right? What are their priorities, right? We're not imposing our priorities on them, right? We're trying to see, what are they trying to do? Where can we step in? And the same thing with the development agencies. We would talk to them and they would say, oh, it would be great to do this, but we have no idea how. Or, gee, you're saying it's important, but prove it to us and say, okay, well, this is what's needed in order to move things. So we kind of think of ourselves as we're a small organization, but we like to think of ourselves as a catalyst to action.
So here we are in 2025. Thankfully, Centre for Inclusive Policy has been around for some time now. What's different? Do you change?
Well, I think we need to try to be thinking ahead in terms of what are the next policy areas where we want to develop. We're still working, of course, in social protection and independent living and just data, trying to get better data. But we want to say, okay, moving forward, where are some of the other areas that really seem to be sticking points? So humanitarian assistance is actually a big issue now, and people are saying, well, how do we incorporate disability into that? And so, well, we don't have a lot of experience in humanitarian work, but we have a lot of experience in data. So we say, okay, well, maybe this is where we can enter into the picture, try to help people figure out how to collect the appropriate data, and in the process, learn about humanitarian issues and where things are needed, and try to provide, our comparative advantage, the little pieces of analysis or evidence that can help others who are working on this move themselves along.
I think one of the strongest things as I look at CIP is the fellows. Could you say a little bit about? Sorry, I'm coughing. Can you
No
say a
problem.
little bit about how you find the fellows and the difference you make? Sorry. Can you say a little bit about how you find the fellows and the difference you make to them by your support?
Well, a big thing that we want to do is increase the capacity of the disability community to do policy analysis. And we want to find sort of early to mid-career people with disabilities from the global south. And we want them to come with their projects, their priorities. We're not saying, hey, we want someone to do X. We say, okay, you're a early career person with a disability in the global south. You know the issues in your country. You know what would be valuable to moving the policy agenda in your country. We want to help you not only do your project, but build your capacity so you can become a policy analyst. And you can go after these RFPs. You can develop your own research proposals. You can help the disability community in your country develop evidence-based advocacy. And we put out this call, and we get hundreds of people. And I wish we could hire dozens of them. We only can get a few a year, 2 to 4 a year. And they're really wonderful people. And we come in and we try to not only have them do their project and help them learn, and then once they're done being fellows, we have a continuing education project. So, so they can keep coming in, and we try to say, once your fellowship is over, it's not the end of your relationship with CIP. We want to develop this community, connect them to the broader community. Some of them, they're not connected to other disability researchers and policy analysts around the world. And I think it's a big part of our trying to help the sector have the capacity to reach their goals. And I'm very proud of the fellowship program. My only problem with it is I wish we could have so many more of them.
Well, I think the sector, thanks to you, because the Centre for Inclusive Policy has done so much for disability policy worldwide. And it's wonderful to join you in celebrating this anniversary. And I think you'll be around for as long as you want, because we will always want you. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that, Tom.